Turn it over to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's a 2024 Democratic presidential candidate. Mr. Kennedy, why have you been dodging primetime?
I'm telling you, Jesse, I had to fire a lot of my staff because I kept seeing you on the air saying, why won't he come on my show? And I would call them and say, why am I not on his show? Those guys are all gone now.
They're good. I'm glad you've gotten your campaign figured out.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going to take it easy on you. So, your voice. Tell the audience who's never seen you before what's going on there.
I had a very, very strong voice till I was 42 years old. And then I got an injury, which is a neurological injury. It's called spasmodic dystonia. And I've made my voice like this. I apologize to everybody.
You don't have to apologize. It's fine. I should apologize for being such a jerk.
No, I can't listen to myself on TV. I will not listen to this. So whatever you say.
That makes two of us. My mother, when she found out you were coming on, she's a big Democrat, she says, he's dangerous. He's an anti-vaxxer. He says that autism comes from vaccines, and you must challenge him on that, Jesse. Is my mom crazy?
Well, I do believe that autism does come from vaccines. But I think most of the things that people believe about my opinions about vaccines are wrong. All I've said about vaccines, we should have good science. We should have the same kind of testing, placebo-controlled trials that we have for every other medication. Vaccines are exempt from pre-licensing placebo-controlled trials, so that there's no way that anybody can tell the risk profile of those products or even the relative benefits of those products before they're mandated. And we should have that kind of testing. I think most people agree.
My kids got vaccinated. Are they going to have problems?
Well, do they have problems now?
Well, they have problems because I'm their father, but not those types of problems. Tell me about Fauci. You wrote this big, fat book. I could only get through a little bit of it. I can't read anything longer than 700 pages. And you think Fauci is the devil. Would you prosecute him if you ever got to the White House?
I mean, if there were crimes that he committed, of course, we would, I would tell the Attorney General to prosecute him and not hold off. Do I think that he committed crimes? I think he caused a lot of injury. I think that he, particularly by withholding early treatment from Americans, we racked up the highest death count in the world. So we only have 4.2% of the globe's population, but we had 16% of the COVID deaths in this country, and that was from bad policy. There's countries that did the opposite of what we did, that provided ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, other early treatments to their populations, and had 1/200th of our death rate. So there are many, many things that we did wrong in this country, and some of those were, I would say, knowingly. That some of the things that were done by public health officials at that time, that they knew that they would be harmful to.
Why hasn't the Biden administration punished China?
Punish China for what?
For the lab leak, for withholding PPE during the pandemic?
Well, I think one of the reasons we haven't investigated the Wuhan lab is because the U.S. government, not just through NIH, but through the CIA and through USAID, was actually funding the studies in the Wuhan lab. And we did a very, very big technology transfer of bioweapons technology to the Wuhan lab, and bioweapons technology that was developed at NIH expense.
You've seen what the government's capable of with regard to your uncle, possibly with regard to your father. We've seen evidence that suggests the CIA was involved in assassinations here on American soil. In 2023, do you still think the CIA is capable of something like that?
Well, I think the CIA was involved in, certainly in this research. They were funding it through USAID. And NIH, I think, in the end, gave about $26 million in funding to the Wuhan lab. But USAID, which was functioning as a CIA surrogate, gave over $64 million, and the Pentagon also gave a lot of money.
But you didn't answer my question. The question was, is the CIA still capable of political assassinations in the United States?
I couldn't say yes or no to that question. I think that there's, I couldn't say, and you know, even with my uncle's assassination, you can't really say the CIA killed John F. Kennedy. You can say members of the CIA, people who are working for the CIA were definitely involved. People like E. Howard Hunt, David Atlee Phillips, David Morales, people who've confessed to it, many of them in deathbed confessions. But they may have been operating on a rogue basis rather than the CIA doing it. These were people who were involved in the Miami station who were angry at President Kennedy for refusing to invade Cuba, and also...
You're an avenger in a way because you're coming back, you're saying unpopular things, kind of a populist on the left. Do you think you actually might be running against Kamala Harris instead of Joe Biden?
What do you mean?
Because Joe Biden does not seem like he might be able to make it across the finish line. Do you think Kamala is your real opponent?
If Joe Biden drops out, then I think Kamala will, I would assume Kamala would come in, but also many other people would come in. So I may be running against a field of Democrats at that point. I mean, I think that has to happen before November of this year.
You saw him at the beach, President Biden, with his shirt off, probably trying to copy you. Were you impressed?
I didn't see that picture.
It's good you didn't. Many of our female producers would like you to take your shirt off.
I'll do it if you do it.
Here we go, everybody. No, we don't want to do that to the audience. RFK Jr., thank you very much for joining us, and I'm glad you fired everybody that said that you shouldn't come on the show.
That will never happen again.